meeting of the Municipal Heritage Committee. First of all, I'll read the land acknowledgement statement. On October 31st, 2022, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. Next item is the approval of the agenda. Would someone move that the agenda be adopted? Chris, and the seconder? Jenny, thank you. All in favor? Disclosure of monetary interest.
I've got a pecuniary interest in the Brockville Street property, so I won't participate in that part of the meeting today.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McGuire. Okay, so I'll just do a little preamble here. This special meeting has been called because there have been objections to our 3 proposed new heritage designations, which were to be presented to council in the form of proposed bylaws on November the 7th. However, due to these objections, we need time to deal with them and to consult further with the property owners. So can I ask you, Carl, to just briefly outline the objection regarding the Russell Street property?
Certainly. Staff had received a written objection submitted on behalf of the owners of 39 Russell Street, and their objection was largely technical in nature. And in their opinion, the property did not meet the 3 criteria outlined in the applicable OREG for designation, and they have broader concerns about the sort of the impact of designation. I'll just speak, I guess, a little note procedurally as well. So under the Ontario Heritage Act, we have following the once we issue a notice of intent to designate, which happened in late September of this year, we have there's 30 days for us to receive an objection, which we have. But upon the conclusion of those 30 days, which elapsed last week, council has 90 days in which to either complete the designation, so pass the bylaw, or alternatively withdraw the bylaw. So we had targeted November 7th being the final meeting of this council, who's familiar with the properties, familiar with the process, but there's no statutory requirement associated with the 7th. We have 90 days to conduct the research, to present the bylaws to council. So we do have some time. So I think the 7th was identified as our target, but I don't want the committee to feel that we absolutely have to bring this forward on the 7th. So Dorothy, would you like me to speak specifically to Russell Street, or also the objection on Brockville as well?
No, we'll just deal with the Russell Street property now, so that Chris will be able to excuse himself before we go ahead. I have drafted a motion, and maybe I'll read that now so that it can be moved and seconded, and then we can discuss it as necessary. So the motion would be: the Municipal Heritage Committee requests that the presentation of new designation bylaw to council that the presentation of the new bylaw to designate 39 Russell Street East as a heritage property be deferred to allow further consultation with the property owners. So would someone move that, please? Chris, and the seconder? Lorraine, thank you very much. So do we have discussion around that motion? Jenny?
Just a question on the procedure. If it doesn't go to council on the 7th, then it's not designated. It remains a property of interest. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Carl.
Oh, yes, yes, it does. Yes, it does, Jenny.
Okay, thank you.
Lorraine, go ahead, please.
I I think it's unfortunate that there was such a lag of time because when we first approached this family about their home, I think that their overall reaction to it was pride. It's a beautiful building. It has a great history. But I think as Municipal Heritage Committee group, we need to look at how we go about meeting with people who have designated or properties that we would like to designate, or even properties that we would like to have on our properties of interest list. Because I think there may be a sort of a fear or a disconnect with people wondering, what does it really mean? Is it going to commit me to doing things that I don't want to do? Will I not be able to change my house color? There's probably a long list of different things, but I'm not sure that this group, and I blame myself just as much as anyone else in it, I'm not sure we're doing a great education piece around what a wonderful thing it is to celebrate your property. And I think there is a lot of fear. And I don't think it's just in our community. I know that I have friends that have old houses and they say the same thing, that I think people sometimes feel it puts limits on what they can do, that they want to do with their property, and there may be other things. But I also would really love us in the new year. I mean, I hope all of us stay on this committee. It's the one committee I'd like to stay on because I really am. I love this. I love this committee and all the things we've accomplished. And I think maybe we need to do a better job of connecting with the owners and then, sitting down with them, or even having a celebratory walk through their home, or taking snacks over and having cookies and tea in the living room, or looking at some of the features that are so amazing and beautiful. I think sometimes when we just send letters and the letters are so just, not cold necessarily, but very just, unconnected to what maybe they're thinking about in their building. I just think we need to look at how we present things like that and how we do it, because we have so many properties on our list, and we sure don't want to have to, every time we approach an owner, have them, not wanting to have anything to do with our committee, or otherwise, how are we going to move forward with, protecting these lovely old buildings and celebrating them? Because that's really what we want to do. We want to celebrate, how unique they are. And so many of Smiths Falls properties have, sadly, over the many years during the fires, have been taken away from us. Our, beautiful big buildings on Beckwith Street, for instance, and there have been many buildings that have just not been taken care of. The market, for instance, would have been an amazing thing for us to have kept. So, I think we need to look at how we're doing that, how we're doing the whole process. Because I think just sending a letter, and then especially if it's a letter that then we don't really communicate with them for quite a period of time, there may just be a disconnect. I'm like, what is this for me? How is this benefiting me and my home?
Well, your points are well taken, and we definitely need to do more of that, and we also need to have a more formalized procedure, so we lay it out step by step, so that we don't miss any of our steps when we try to do this again. Any other comments about this property?
Oh, I was just going to add one other thing. I've been looking at things we can do to promote, our committee and the good work that we're trying to do. And one of them is, there are a lot of times in different parts of the year where they celebrate, they do walkabouts, or there's neighborhood lists of places that are open. It used to be called Open Doors years ago. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that even exists anymore, but the idea was that people could come in and, you know, just go through an old building and really appreciate its beauty. And I think that for many people, that was a really good experience because people were just saying to them, wow, this is gorgeous. You have a beautiful home, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think fear of some of, you know, the things that they're required to do or that they think they're going to be required to do is a big part of it.
Yes, and although we did offer definitely to meet, the pandemic interfered with
Yeah,
everything we were trying to do, didn't it? So
it did. Yeah, for sure.
any more discussion about this particular property? Okay, I'm going to read the motion again then. The Municipal Heritage Committee requests that presentation of the new bylaw to designate 39 Russell Street East as a heritage property be deferred to allow further consultation with the property owners. Is that, and it's been moved and seconded, so all in favor of that motion? Thank you, passed. So we'll move ahead to the other two properties now. Excuse me. Carl, could you just fill us in very briefly on the objection there, please?
Certainly. The objection on these two properties was received from the property owner, and the concern was a little bit more procedural. And I think speaking to Councillor Allen's point earlier about perhaps about some of the gap in terms of the information presented left a bit of some uncertainty as to what this means and how the designation process is originally concluded. So yes, similar. We had outreach to the property owners, and I believe it was Dorothy who met with them some time ago. And then there was also just to highlight as well, there's also a concern about the actual notification. So staff had sent the intent that the notice of intent to designate in late September. However, there is an inconsistency in the municipal records, and unfortunately the notice did get returned to sender by Canada Post. So we resent it to the correct address this time, and unfortunately that meant they didn't receive the notice with a whole lot of time to spare before the objection. So my take is that the concerns here are more procedural rather than an objection in principle to designation as a whole.
I can hear you, Dorothy.
Sorry, you'd think I'd know that by now. We're looking at three separate motions here because we have three separate properties and they would be identical except for the address. And again, because of the problem with the mail, and basically that was the concern, I believe, that by the time they actually did get the letter, which had been sent back and sent again, they had lost their 30-day period. So again, I believe that Carl has offered a meeting with the property owners, myself and Carl, to discuss the issues with them and hopefully to iron out the problems that we've had in communication with those two properties. Do we want to discuss these further? Because then we could do the motions after we've talked about it this time, I think.
I think it's pretty similar. Unless Jenny feels differently, I'm prepared to put that motion forward to move forward on these properties in the upcoming months.
And there's Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Okay, you're in time for part two, which is the objection to the proposed heritage designations of the two properties on Brockville Street, 102 and 110 Brockville.
Okay.
So I'll read out the motion for the record. The Municipal Heritage Committee requests that the presentation of the new bylaw to designate 102 Brockville Street as a heritage property be deferred to allow further consultation with the property owners. Perhaps I should have said presentation to council of the new bylaw. Perhaps that should be inserted there.
Sorry, Dorothy, could you just repeat which address is this one here?
This one was 102 Brockville.
Perfect, thank you. I'm just furiously writing.
Yes. Okay, so would someone make that motion? Lorraine, and the seconder? Jenny, thank you. Any further discussion before we vote on the motion? Okay, all in favor of that motion? Passed, thank you. And the third one, the Municipal Heritage Committee requests that presentation to council of the new bylaw to designate 110 Brockville Street as a heritage property be deferred to allow further consultation with the property owners. So someone make that motion, please. Jenny, and the seconder, Katie, thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much, everybody. That I think that allows us a good period of time to tidy up our loose ends here and spend some time discussing the issues with the owners of the properties involved.
Only, Dorothy, can I just, I know we're all anxious to go and get our trick-or-treating stuff,
Yeah.
but
No, fine.
just one other comment. The more I thought about this, and I was thinking about this for the last couple of weeks, I think that one of the things, like, you know, I hope we continue to do now that COVID has made things a little bit easier. I'd like this symposium this year to go on and be at the Station Theatre again, as we've had in the past. And perhaps what we need to be looking at is getting some amazing speakers that can come and talk about this very thing. You know, how do we show people how important their properties are without them feeling threatened or, you know, concerned that something might happen or that they don't feel that they're part of the process. I'm sure, I haven't researched it yet, but Chris can help me. All of you can give me a hand. I'm sure there are many people who are passionate about this topic. And most of us know some people that we've had in the past that might even give us some ideas of speakers. But I do think it's worthwhile to do this because we do have such a large list of properties of interest, and that's a good thing. But we also want to move forward and designate them and protect them. So it would be, I think, a really good symposium topic.
And maybe we could have, could find and call upon a property owner who has had their property, residential property.
That was, yes, that had a really good experience. And yeah.
Who can really, yeah, that would be a good idea. We don't have any project updates at this time. We can do a really quick round table if anyone has anything they would like to volunteer. Any volunteers? Carl?
So just a quick note for the next meeting. I think some of the discussion we've had here segues into one of the things that we'll be presenting at the next regular MHC meeting, and that is sort of looking at the broader or look of a strategic plan for the Municipal Heritage Committee for the next term, and really formalizing and institutionalizing some of our processes, looking at municipal heritage as a unique and distinct service area within the broad portfolio of what we do. And I think part of that, part of this conversation, and certainly the discussions that Dorothy and I have had over the last week, I think do segue into the report that Mary is going to be presenting in late November.
Good, thank you. So our next meeting is November 17th at 4:30. That's our regular meeting, and I think we'll have probably quite a few items on the agenda then. We can hopefully conclude some of our activities from this term and have a list of things going forward that we need to work on in the future. So would someone move that we adjourn? Chris, thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. And again, thank you so much for making time to do this special meeting.
Have fun with your trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, have fun tonight.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.